What's good, football gamers? It's your boy Fen checking in with another College Football 25 YouTube video. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to create a god tier coach better than we're supposed to be able to make in the game. I'm going to give you the blueprint and step-by-step instructions through your development years that take advantage of all of the game mechanics and little tricks available to us. If you're anything like me, you might be curious what it would be like to play with a coach that exceeds the limitations the game currently puts on us. As things stand, we're hard capped at level 50 with 495 lifetime coaching skill points to spend. With no way to increase the skill point cap, our only way to influence the balance is to lower the cost of the skills that we buy. And thankfully, we actually can influence that part of the equation. I want y'all to get into this video with eyes wide open on what to expect. Hardcore sim guys, y'all are not gonna love this. We're gonna get nasty in some places and make things easier wherever we can. The goal here is pretty specific: to fulfill all the requirements we can while we're at our development school, get a bunch of skills at a discount thanks to our head coach's bundle discount ability, and then get hired out and start our coaching career proper with a greater challenge. You can think of this like the preseason to your real coaching run, or just the preamble to the dynasty that you really want to create. I wanted to do this as quickly as possible and essentially leave myself with a coach who had won 2 national championships and signed 2 top 5 recruiting classes, and I figured any other elite branch requirements that we unlock along the way will be a bonus as they're a little less in our control. With all of that taken care of, I'd then create a save point, sim up until my job offers, and see if I got anything that I liked. If I did, I'd be ready to head out with my overpowered coach and start somewhere fresh. If I didn't, I could re-roll my job offers by reverting back to that save point, re-simming the end of my season, back to job offers to see if I got anything different. So while in some ways you can re-roll the available job pool, I will say that between sims, I've not found a whole heck of a lot of variance. The job offers are relatively static, but importantly, not completely so. The main benefit of this setup plan, of course, is to just be able to afford more skills than we would be able to otherwise, and the drawback is we won't necessarily be able to choose where we wind up next. But having said all that, we are gonna have to get a little bit grimy with some of our tactics, so I would understand if you would rather just take the scenic route and kind of enjoy the mode more as the game intended. This plan involves the fastest coach progression setting, it involves the insta-commit cheese we went over in the last video to make sure you lock in your recruiting classes, it involves forcing wins for your development program to make sure you win your 2 natties, and it's definitely cheesy. I do think there's a high value in taking on the challenge of the years, as a coach that took you 15 seasons to develop is probably going to feel more satisfying than one that took you 2 hours to. This is just a way to have fun with some of the capabilities the skill tree could give us if we weren't limited by the current cap. So if a god tier coaching setup by any means necessary feels like it might be a fun time for you, you're gonna like this. So here goes our step-by-step instructions on how to make it happen. Hope you enjoy. Check. Okay, all right. I'm checking in with the congregation, and I am going to get right to the point because there's a decent amount to cover here, and I know I've been known to yap on occasion. This is where I wound up after following the blueprint that I'm about to lay out for you folks. We are in bowl week 1, which is the first time we'll see some job offers of 2026. So this is the end of our 3rd season here with Coach Congregation. As you can see, we're a level 43, so just a few left to max out, and we have a balance of 154 skill points that we still have not spent. For the skills I did purchase, I bought any that were both discounted and I would have bought even if it wasn't. So you can see here, for example, that I leave a ton of discounts on the board in Tactician here, for example, under the cross-training heading, because I just didn't think there was a ton of value there, whether it's discounted or not. Same story in a couple other trees where I just didn't feel like it was worth it to spend, so we did leave some discounted options on the table. And now you may have seen us do this sort of calculation in the other video where we started asking whether something like this would even be worth it or not, but I'm going to count up what our current skill tree setup should have cost, and then we'll compare it with how much it actually wound up costing us. So starting in recruiter right off top, we did unlock the elite branch, so we spent 15 there. For the basic skill tree up top, we should have spent 70 points. You can see 14 skills that usually cost 5 apiece. Down here in the elite branch of recruiter, we also bought 13 total abilities here that normally cost 8 each, so 104 in value from from the elite tree. So it's 15 to unlock the elite branch, 70 in the basic tree, 104 in the elite tree for a total of 189 points we should have been charged for the skills in the recruiter branch. Same thing for the tactician branch. I was wrong about this the last time we talked about it in a video, and big thanks to y'all for making sure I got it right, but it cost us 10, not 15, to unlock the basic tactician tree here in the first place. Then we bought 28 skills from the basic tree when they're bought at a normal cost at 5 points each. That equals 140 here in tactician, plus a 10 to unlock it in the first place, so 150 total. We're holding the rest of our skill points to decide how we want to handle things wherever we land, but we'll add the 154 points that we have in our bank right now to complete the picture of how many skill points we have out right now, essentially, versus how many our level should indicate that we've spent. So it's 189 for all the recruiter stuff, plus 150 from strategist, plus the 154 points that we haven't spent yet, which all equal 493 skill points, which sounds interestingly close to that level cap we've been talking about at level 50 of 495 skill points. So we are obviously way ahead of the game here, but let's see by exactly how much. At level 43, where we're at right now, we've earned 425 total skill points. You can find by just multiplying your level by 10, minus the 5 that you didn't get for level 1, so 425 here at level 43, which makes for a difference of 70 skill points that we've essentially saved ourselves at this point. It's less awesome when you consider percentages, as we've spent 495 skill points of value, but we've only actually accounted for 425 of them, so 495 out of 425 tells us that we're about 116% of where we should be without all these discounts. It's worth noting that that percentage would be higher and the savings would show for even greater if we did opt to take advantage of every single skill tree that was discounted. But like I said, I only went for the ones that I would buy even if they were full price, just to get a better feel for how things actually would look if I wanted to play this out, rather than just maximizing savings to show you guys some cooler numbers. So I'm gonna give you the steps to get here in just a second, but I wanted to make sure this appeals to you. So if you wanna get to this spot, this is what I'm about to explain. If you couldn't really care to be here, then I'll see you in the next video. But we're all juiced up like we wanted to be so we could start shopping for our job offer, which is the real objective of all this. So we could see what it's like to build up a program with a Super Saiyan created coach, and we'll have a ton of time left over on our 30-year Dynasty clock to fully enjoy it. So like I said, I did make a save file pretty much in the middle of this third year. I simmed to the end, and that's what we're looking at here. And we're going to take a look at the job offers that we did get on this first go round. We are looking at head coach for Auburn, the OC at Georgia Tech, another head coach opportunity with Kentucky, and another head coach opportunity with Ole Miss. Some pretty good options right off the rip. The real nasty save scumming here, and you could call it nasty, but really it's just kind of limiting work and giving you an idea of who you're gonna have to choose from. You could go ahead and get a save point right here, go back, reload the other one. You're going to obviously give up the auto save file that had progressed from the one that you set first of all, but you could kind of just make a note of what this offer would be based on what save file you made it, and keep that in mind for later. So we'll make another save point here before we go anywhere else, and we'll call it, since it's the August 15th video, we'll call it 815, and this is save file number 1. I'm going to take a screenshot of who we get here in 8151, so we know that if we want to go back to this, we'll have those offers available. So reloading that same save point that we just made will bring us right back to these offers. To see what would happen in the second week, let's go ahead and push and see what week 2 of bowl week job offers will bring us. And here we go into the second week with a brand new slate of offers. Now we have the head coach for Baylor, BYU OC, the Florida State head coach, or the South Carolina Gamecocks head coach as well. So a good handful of different head coaching offers we can comb through and kind of decide what we want to do. It seems like once you get to bowl week 1 that your job offers are mostly going to be locked, not completely locked. If you watch the video we did a couple of days ago, we found that we got one different offer from just kind of reloading back to bowl week 1 by reloading a full 5 times. Only one job offer changed between the 8 that we were offered. So I think the save point that you want for the reroll should really be a couple weeks ago. Get one before bowl week 1, so then you could toy around with winning or losing those last couple of games to see if it impacts which offers you wind up with. I feel like the save scumming part of this is probably going to be pretty intuitive for y'all, so I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but I know y'all came for the step-by-step instruction, so I'm going to tell y'all specifically how I wound up here this quickly. The first thing I'll cover is also the optional thing, and if you want to draw your line here, I wouldn't necessarily blame you, but in the interest of the speed run, again, to just get as many points as we can, as quickly as we can, there is a setting where you could turn up the speed of your coach progression, but they hide it a little bit. You actually have to hit the start button at the menu. It's not in the basic settings spot that you feel like it might be. It's in these ones. So you'll go settings here, Dynasty settings, and here we have the Coach XP setting that we have set to fastest. It's totally optional for you to do this. You can just as easily get to this point with a little more meat left on the bone so that when you start your career proper, you have some grinding left to do. So it's definitely dealer's choice whether you want to set this to fastest or not, but if you just want the most points you possibly can get as quickly as you can, there is this setting available for you. But it's not completely necessary for what we want to do here, so dealer's choice. Then it comes down to 2 of our objectives that we have in the 2 years of our grinding. That is 2 top 5 recruiting classes, which unlocks the elite branch of recruiter, and also winning 2 national championships so that when we take a head coach spot, we have that requirement fulfilled for the CEO branch in case we wanted to check that out. We'll start with the easy one, and that's your national championships. And again, this is nasty. It turns out, and I didn't learn this until I had spent an embarrassing amount of time not knowing this, if you scroll over to CFB from the menu and you go into team schedule, you can actually predetermine the outcome for your entire year of games. That is to say, you could just home cook a win every week and guarantee that you go 2 for 2 with your natties. I told you it was going to be nasty, so I'm not hearing any complaints about this at this juncture. So we would click into this week's game, and you could do the entire schedule as soon as it comes out for the season, which is also insane, and just choose whether or not you want a home win or an away win. Important to note that for some reason, sometimes with rivalry games and then bowl games, the home and away that you see from the screen, so that versus or at, to decide whether or not you're home or away, or at least what it's showing you on the schedule, can actually be incorrect. So in those situations for rivalry games or when you get to the playoffs, I would just check to make sure where you're actually at, whether home or away, and not necessarily trust the schedule and what it says. Gross for certain, but you do have an easy 2 national championships, and we could move on to our next goal of making sure you get 2 top 5 recruiting classes back to back. There's a way more detailed breakdown on specifically how to do this process in the video I titled Recruiting Loophole. I'm sure many of y'all have seen that, but if you haven't and you want some specifics, check that out. But at a high level, we're essentially just taking advantage of this CEO skill that our head coach owns called Dream School, which is a chance at an insta-commit when offering a scholarship as their top school. How it goes is basically adding a bunch of guys that you are first in interest with to your recruiting board, offering them scholarships, seeing who snap commits, and then removing guys that don't, and making sure you're taking at least one swing at everybody who has you first on their interest board. The particulars on kind of combing the board and how this should look between rounds are all in that video, but you're basically just re-rolling for insta-commits to make the rest of your recruiting year much easier, so it should just be a shoe-in for the top 5 recruiting classes pretty much right off the rip. So to tie it all together, your steps are to first create a coach and head to a school as a coordinator with a head coach who owns the CEO branch. There's only a few of those in the game. Georgia makes the most sense as that head coach has multiple skills in the CEO tree, but North Carolina and Clemson, among potentially others, are a couple other options for you. So as the coordinator and with the benefit of bundled discount, you're going to spend 2 years farming your 2 national championships, and making sure you get 2 top 5 recruiting classes to fulfill those requirements going forward. At about midway through your 3rd season, you're going to get a save point that you can come back to if you feel like you want to re-roll the job offers that you wind up getting. Year 3 is our exit plan, and as you can see from the example, by the time we got there, we had overperformed our expectations by at least 16%, with leaving some discounted abilities on the board, and saved 70 skill points that we should have spent on our current skill tree that we just didn't have to. You're gonna need to make some moral concessions on setting this up, no question. But now we have 27 years to enjoy what a coach could be if we were only able to get a little bit more. But thankfully, it turns out we actually can. I've been Fen, y'all been great. See you next video. Peace.